Blessings and welcome everyone to the Ascension Alchemist podcast. I'm your host, Reverend HoniB, and I am welcoming you to another amazing, heartfelt episode. This one is my solo episode, and today I'm going to share with you where I just came from. That's all about legacy, the legacy we are leaving behind. Before doing so, this podcast is all about aligning with that highest truth, which is God's presence in us, and embodying that truth in these vessels that we are in, so we can be a blessing in our life with the highest health, highest wealth, highest joy, and bring that to this world. This is the gift. We get to do it together as a community, and I'm so grateful you are part of this embodiment journey. So, legacy, let's talk about legacy. It is evening, and Michael and I just returned from 2 days training with Andrew Cordell, part of the Aspire for More. Some of you have learned these past couple months how we got involved with Aspire and as members and everything that we're learning from there. And this weekend was set up for legacy. It was called the Legacy Lab. And this legacy, it's so interesting. I'm going to speak from the lens of God Almighty first as a legacy, and then I'm going to share with you how many breakthroughs I had this weekend and actually how much I cried. You would never imagine that you could be sitting in a place where you are speaking about all these different restructures that's very complicated, with going back to certain 401ks, Roths, trusts, IRS codes, and all of these. And then somehow there are these tears that are coming up to be seen, to be heard. So I'll speak in that with you for a moment. So let me start our legacy first. So when this legacy lab was put in, it is the last gathering here in DC before many of us fly to Florida for the mastermind. And Michael and I, the night before it, I had a back spasm. And so Michael worked on it, and we knew certain information is going to be coming into me. As when we are aligned with this place, we recognize any body situations that body shows up, it's because it's kicked into a transformation. So we allow that space. So that was on Friday, and we left on Saturday. We're there all day with different members of the community, with Aspire. So beautiful for all of us that are getting to know each other. And there's this understanding legacy and how to set up this legacy structure. And when we tap into legacy, there is a desire for so many of us to leave a legacy behind. Legacy of how we would want to be remembered, how we want to contribute to the next generations in our family line, how we want to truly contribute to their well-being, to their health, to their wealth, to just whatever is going to come up. And it's so interesting when we are put in this position as a first generation that gets to actually implement this for the next generations to come. So with my family, because of our situation, that was never placed ever into even as idea. However, I feel so blessed that I get to be in this position that I can think about this and I can implement certain steps in that direction, so my children will have a different life, which they have been. My whole focus has been for them to experience life differently than I did. And that's usually the case with generations. We have a desire for the things that we did not experience to be able to bring it for our children. So our children will have just a lot more opportunities and gifts and blessings and just mostly support. So when this idea of legacy came, it really opened my heart to see deeper within me in terms of legacy. What is the legacy that I would want to leave behind for my children, my great-grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and so on? And I knew as Michael and I take this step, there are things within ourselves we would first have to see. And when we dare to give ourselves permission to see within, we're first going to meet the discomfort in these areas. Also the limitations, also the struggles, also the stories, also the hurts and the pains of the past that had dictated our future. So when we give ourselves, because that legacy comes from the seed that God Almighty has placed within us, and that seed of greatness wants to live on and be passed on to generations. Because, for example, what I'm experiencing now in this incarnation comes from the prayers that my ancestors had prayed for, that I'm blessed to experience. That's one part of the legacy. As I'm in this position, through the awareness, I get to choose to set up certain foundations for my children, grandchildren, and so on. There is a legacy that will be left behind, and it is the labor of love that is weaving through these generations. So that presence has landed its mark, even though my body won't be here, yet they will get to be on the receiving end of the blessings that I allowed within myself. And that's just so glorious when we get a chance to sit in here. A lot of time when we're just struggling in our own challenges, we do not have the time to sit or contemplate or even consider what legacy we want to leave behind for our children. And sometimes we want to just say, okay, I'm just going to leave, for example, let's say my property for you or my business for you, not realizing maybe our children actually don't want that, right? Maybe the challenges we face, they actually don't want that. That's the farthest thing from them. So it's so interesting to have this space to discover there's so many different ways, and what are the ways. And in my case, how God Almighty wants me to bring that frequency embodied as a blessing. And before doing so, it's the stuff that I'm going to have to face. So this weekend, I had so much tears because as certain things is being introduced to set up, I'm finding myself facing how 14 years ago, how sick I was and how lonely I was, and taking on so much responsibility with businesses and structures and what have you, and the cost of taking on so much and getting sick, and some of you know what happened then. So here's this, it's 15, well, actually 2012, so we're coming into the 14 years. So it was so interesting witnessing this is what's coming up. This is what wants to be acknowledged and nourished, loved, forgiven, blessed. So I am curious for those of you who are considering to leave a legacy for your children, grandchildren. What are some of the emotions that you're facing? What's coming up with you? Or if it's even the first time you're even hearing this, what are some of the things that comes right into your plate? Because you are going to have to face certain things to be able to make certain decisions. And if you're first meeting the emotions like I did, you're going to have to really meet the emotion for the emotions to be loved, truly loved, however they are, be accepted, not judged, because they want to be seen, they want to be heard. And it was almost like as if it was the first time after all these years, these buried emotions wanted to surface in the middle of all of this, which is all a business setting, all business meeting. And it's like, it makes no sense, yet there's such a divine perfection. And one of the gifts that came out of it was a beautiful sister of ours that was, I call her dear sister because she's a new friend, part of this community. She was sitting next to me. And as I found myself facing one of these discomfort moments where a lot of pressure was being built inside of me because my human mind did not have the answers, could not understand, and it seemed a lot more challenging, and it was bringing me to this space of 14, 15, 16 years ago that I'd carried on so much. I was just carrying that level of pressure, and how lonely I felt, yet I had to bury all of it and just let my masculine lead. So as all of this was coming up, I noticed my emotions was being processed. As her and I got a chance to speak, it was this moment where tears just started coming, and Michael was next to me. She got to witness that, and she got to witness the permission being allowed for her to also be permitted in the midst of this to experience what she needs to experience. And here's the beauty. We don't quite grasp why we're put in certain positions, yet here we are. What I felt so blessed with being in that room this weekend, today, I had a moment to connect with Andrew and just give him a hug and thank him so much in recognition of the hand of God Almighty that's working behind the scene through him, and the fact that he's allowing that. And from there, the amount of people that he's assisting through his team, and the exquisiteness of the way this is playing out, and the ripple effect of it. And that is part of his legacy, not just for his family, yet for his community, and how each of us have a living legacy as a seed seated inside. And the question becomes, do we allow ourselves to see what that seed of greatness is, to surface on the outside, be a greater expression of God Almighty, so that many people will experience the ripple effect of that legacy that will be touched, and the impact of it will be left behind. So this was my weekend. Lots of tears, breakthroughs. My eyes are burning, my eyes are puffy. I took so much notes, and never did I realize that I would have a breakthrough in this kind of setting at all. A breakthrough because breaking out of a pattern of not experiencing the fullness of the support for myself, and now here's this experience of a lot more support, and can I allow it so that I can allow my legacy be left behind so that it can do what it is meant to do. So it's a lot of reflection in this, and I'm very grateful as I get to share this raw, real, unedited, and in trust. As you're hearing these, something is igniting in you. As you go to Thanksgiving week, you get to be with your families and your loved ones, and you can maybe give yourself permission. What kind of legacy do you want to leave behind? How do you want? It's not just about inheritance. It's about the impact. What impact would you like to leave behind? And it is something so beautiful to be able to actually allow this conversation on the inside. So it's going to be a really great week as you allow this appreciation and thankfulness first for your families, wherever they are, however they are. May you give yourself permission to gather and put everything behind, because you have this moment. You just have this moment present with them. And however way they are also a child of God Almighty, and they're not to be judged. They can be accepted, and you can just see them from that innocent lens of God Almighty, and choose to hold yourself in that place and let your lightheartedness lead the way so that your greatness can shine through even greater. I'm so excited for my family this week. So grateful to be with them, and however way all the conversation will take place and what will come out of it. It's truly a gift and a blessing. And I'm so thankful to you as a community for this opportunity of podcasting, where these really intimate, raw, real, unedited moments that we are experiencing and living and moving through in becoming the greatest version of ourselves through that true living Christ, that luminosity. How it looks is continuously evolving, because as we meet these areas, a part of us becomes freed and space opens up. So that seed of mustard seed becomes accessible and pours through in the most exquisite way and becomes the next living legacy. Thank you so much for this moment with me. I love you all so much. I look forward to your comments. I look forward for you leaving your review. I love getting your reviews and sharing this with you, that this coming Saturday after Thanksgiving, for the woman, the empowered woman, that they know they are the woman of God Almighty, that they truly want to be anchored in this space so clearly. I answered a call from the 8 weeks that I am leading the woman, because so many women reached out to me and said, "Honey, can you do this shorter?" as a 1 day. So I have a 1 day event Saturday 12 to 3 where I'm introducing the 3 keys, the 3 fundamental keys of frequency to really align with God Almighty presence. And I'm going to introduce you and in real time show you, literally show you what that frequency has in your body so you can allow it more, especially honor it, be bold in it, in that truth, in that awareness. And that's coming up on Saturday. So be sure to email me info at ascensionalchemist.com. It is $333 investment, and you get to experience it. And if you cannot attend live on Zoom, you will get the replay. And it is for the woman that know they're the woman of God Almighty and they just want to be strong in that frequency. That's really for that woman that's ready to own it. And I am honored to help you literally download these frequencies because I'm watching what is happening to the women's group. It's incredible, the quantum leaps they're having. So that's for you, and much love, and have a glorious, magnificent Thanksgiving, everyone.